How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and to another Overwatch League discussion video. I think it's about time we return to the Dream Team series. It's been nearly 3 months since I made the all-Korean one. After giving Korean players so much praise both in that video and on many of my videos in general, I thought I'd give you guys a break. It's time for an Overwatch League Western player Dream Team. Because it's been a long time since I've done one of these, it goes without saying that some of you probably weren't around back then, so let me explain the ground rules I use in the series so we can avoid confusion and so you can play along down in the comment section if you're interested. Okay, so rule number 1 is I will strictly be sticking to a starting lineup. No bench players will be involved for the sake of keeping this video from being too lengthy. The second rule in place is that I will be limiting myself to current Overwatch League players only. That means no former or retired players, no free agents, and nobody from Tier 2 or Tier 3. Simple as that. If they aren't in the Overwatch League, then they aren't eligible. My third rule in this series is that I am allowed to only pick one player from any team. Limiting my options makes for a better challenge, I feel, and I figure the diversity makes it a bit more interesting. And while this final thing isn't really a rule, you should keep in mind that this is obviously going to have a biased viewpoint. Since this team is being built in my vision, there may be some points where it sounds like I'm playing favorites. So if you think I could have picked a better option in a certain place, that's fine. There's no right or wrong answer here. That pretty much covers everything though. Simple enough, right? Now without further ado, let's begin by establishing the tank line. So on main tank, the options are pretty limited. It's not something we always think about, but there really aren't that many Western main tanks in the Overwatch League. If I did my math right, then there is currently only 11 players to choose from if you count hydration. And sadly, most of these players are either backups or they're average at best. I could maybe go with like Fusions or Gator or maybe Ben Best for leadership purposes, but they don't offer enough for me to choose them overall. Out of all Western main tanks in the Overwatch League, one stands head and shoulders above the rest. The man I'm talking about is Super. He will be the one at the main tank helm on this Dream Team. The only reason I didn't insta-choose him when selecting my team is because it was tempting to go with Moth, but the temptation quickly disappeared when seriously thinking about the lack of solid main tanks to choose from as well as how much deeper main support is. In my opinion, it would be foolish to not put Super on this team. While he hasn't been getting as much playtime as in Season 2, Super has been putting out a pretty solid season, all things considered. When the Shock need a Reinhardt in their game plan, Super almost always hits it out of the park. Last year, he was probably the #1 Reinhardt, and I don't think anything has changed. He is the alpha male. His aggressive playstyle not only provides extra damage, but it enables the rest of the team to do so much more thanks to the space he generates. But he's also pretty smart. He knows how to win the mind games. The big drawback to this, obviously, is you have to invest in him a bit more than you would with other main tank players out there, but the trade-off is well worth it. It's been working out for the Shock, has it not? So I don't see why the same couldn't happen on this Dream Team. I know that some people don't think Super is all that great on Orisa or Winston, which is a fair point to bring up, but I have confidence in him to get the job done. His Winston in particular could use some work, but I'm not concerned. I've witnessed this guy improve so much as a player firsthand, and I firmly believe he could get better at anything he puts his mind to. He has the work ethic. Another thing I'd like to say in regards to his hero pool is that his Orisa gets too much hate. It just so happens that he plays on the same team as a god-tier Orisa player in Smurf, so it's really not fair. Statistically, Super's Orisa was pretty decent during Season 2, and he didn't look bad in the World Cup either. So long as he doesn't feed and he coordinates with his teammates, there's nothing to worry about, I feel. And of course, the final reason I think Super is a great addition to this team is his character. He's a very vocal person, both in and out of game. He is a true leader that anybody would want to rally behind. He's not afraid to speak his mind, which could really help motivate his teammates to improve. Not to mention that he'll provide the clean comms. Super gives this team a needed sense of direction. All in all, Mr. Matthew DeLisi feels like the ideal fit on this roster. Now let's talk about who will be joining Super at the off-tank position. I'll be straight up honest. There wasn't much reason to not pick Space. It was kind of a no-brainer because the only other guy who even comes close to him, in my opinion, is Poco, who I will admit has been having a great year. Poco wouldn't be a bad choice, but in my honest opinion, Space is just better. Maybe this is where bias starts to take part in this video, I guess, but in my opinion, Space is one of the top off-tank players we have, let alone the best Western one. Hero pool-wise, he is exactly what you're looking for. On Diva, Sigma, Zarya, and Roadhog, he can be world-class on any day. This guy is a machine. Space is one of those people who will never let you down. He'll step into whatever role you need him at, and he'll find every way possible to put the team on the right track. For about 3 years, he has brought arguably the 2 most important qualities you want in any player: consistency and the clutch factor. Let's call it how it is. There aren't many off-tank players on the planet who can bring their A-game this often. He's one of a kind and won't give you much of a reason to complain. Space is not afraid to take over a game. There's been countless times throughout his pro career where he has saved his team from certain doom all by himself. He's the kind of player who can flip the switch at any moment, but don't just think about it from the pure skill standpoint. He's a good guy to be around. He's crazy chill and he'll step into a leadership role when he has to. And think about who he gets to be paired up with in this situation. Space is the right choice thanks to his good relationship and previous synergy with Super. These two have duoed together and ranked so many times, and they have even grinded towards a World Cup gold medal together. Everything is already set in stone for this tank line to be successful right from day one. They'll be great together, and they'll bring a strong dynamic that gives the team personality and life. Okay, the tank line is now set. It's a pretty good foundation to build off of, but no tank line can be enabled to do their job without a strong backline to keep them healthy. Let's talk support, and how about we start off with flex support? In my opinion, this is probably the weakest individual link on my team as there's not much to choose from. Correct me if I miscounted, but I tallied up a total of 8 non-Korean/Chinese flex supports in the Overwatch League. The options are Rolf, Crimzo, Unko, Raucus, Dogman, Kodak, Shaz, and Boombox. That's not exactly a star-studded cast to select from, and I mean, most of these guys I'm either not a huge fan of, or they don't really get much playtime, and Shaz is completely off limits because I already have space. By process of elimination, I feel my best option is probably Dogman or Crimzo, who are by no means top quality flex supports. Quality Western flex supports are a rare thing to come across in the Overwatch League. In terms of relative skill level, they are pretty close to one another, but each of them brings certain traits to the table that the other does not. Dogman, we can say, is a bit more outgoing, he's vocal, and he has an aggressive style of playing support. Then there's Crimzo, who's a bit less outspoken, but is better with prioritizing healing, and it's safe to say he's a bit more calculated too. He makes less mistakes with his ult usage and positioning, the latter of which can be observed by his noticeably lower death rate than Dogman. It really depends on what interests me more. Do I want the American connection and playmaker possessed by Dogman, or would Crimzo's passiveness serve the team better? Well, to be honest, I think I want Crimzo. I like Dogman, he's not a bad player, but I don't know how I feel about him being on the same team as Super, and I say that for multiple reasons. For one, I fear those two personalities could clash at times just because neither of them are ever afraid to speak their mind. The second thing I'm afraid of is Super not getting enough support. He's a demanding type of player, he likes to put in the work, but he needs a lot of support. He requires heavy investment, and I'm not sure if Dogman is the right fit for that. Crimzo fits the bill better to me. He ranks in the top 5 for healing per 10 minutes among players with at least 150 minutes of playtime when you combine the stats on all the typical flex support characters in the game. Now that is the priority I'm looking for. And you know, even though he likes to play more safely compared to Dogman, his damage stats aren't too shabby. Although it's not my ideal player, Crimzo appears to be a decent match for what I'm going for. He plays smart, he does his job, he contributes in the kill feed sometimes, and he provides good balance personality-wise. He's right between Super and Space from that perspective. Crimzo will certainly be the weakest link on this team skill-wise, but if he can do his job and not feed, then maybe it won't matter. Okay, time to tackle main support. Luckily for me, this position happens to be kind of stacked, as there are some very, very talented Western players to choose from. You can't go wrong with FunnyAstro or FD God, am I right? Now, if I didn't already pick Super, I absolutely would have went with Moth, as I currently see him as the #1 main support in the league. But I mean, FunnyAstro seems like a pretty good consolation prize to me. He's right up there with Moth as one of the S-tier main supports of Season 3, so I gotta pick him as my other support player for this dream team. There's really not much to say about FunnyAstro. He's had a damn near flawless season on the Fusion. He truly knows how to play this position correctly. It's not often that you come across a Reddit Lucio who also happens to have one of the lowest death rates in the league and the top healing rate for those with a minimum of 2 hours of playtime on the hero. He has the wild aggression you'd come to expect of a Reddit Lucio, but with the smarts of somebody like Animo, let's say. It's not something you come across often at this level. Most main supports either try to do too much with their aggression, or they're not aggressive enough and they end up not doing anything in the backline. Finding that perfect in-between is so tough to come across. Astro is great, and don't be mistaken, he's not some Lucio one-trick. His Brigitte has literally been just as good. Statistically, he's top 4 in all things I just brought up with Lucio before. He's the model of consistency, and he has the high IQ. And I've heard this guy in interviews before. He hypes up his teammates. He has full confidence in those around him. Astro will make for an excellent addition to this team and will likely be an even better leader now that he gets to communicate in full English-speaking environments. Okay, now we can finally talk DPS, and I am very excited about this part. I believe this duo will be the focal point of my team. As usual, I'm going to stick to tradition with these types of videos by picking one flex DPS and one hit scan. So coming in at the flex DPS position is none other than Nero. I could have gone with somebody like, I don't know, Surefour or KSF, but Nero is a more appealing option for me given how great he's been in 2020. I love Nero. Ever since I watched him make his league debut last year, he's constantly been on my radar as a player to watch when the Charge are on stream. There's a lot of standout players on that Guangzhou team, but Nero in my opinion is the biggest star. He's such a talented player. He's mechanically gifted and he boasts a diverse hero pool. His projectile characters in particular are fantastic. I especially love his Pharah, Hanzo, and Mei. But don't be deceived. This year has proven that he possesses a mean Tracer and Echo. His versatility will provide this team with many different options on what they could be running on a game-to-game basis, and you guys know how I feel about having options. Having the ability to swap onto pretty much anything mid-game is huge. Being able to win that chess match involved with swapping things around gives your team the tools needed to be prepared for whatever gets in their way. Not to mention that it gives the entire team confidence because they know their flex DPS has their backs when fights start to get super gritty. And overall, I just really like Nero as a person. He's friendly, and I know he's got everybody's back. I've seen him stick up for his teammates before and poke fun at them on social media on numerous occasions. He's going to bring that positive energy and reinforcement to the team that helps them grow and form a strong bond. To conclude the formation of my dream team, we have to pick a solid hitscan player. While there are a lot of great options here, many of them are inconsistent, and given how easy it is for any hitscan player to get rolled on any given day, you gotta reduce that as much as possible by getting somebody who will always go down fighting. After careful consideration, there was only one Western player who seemed to match that description. The hitscan DPS on my Western dream team is KSP. If you saw my top 10 rookie video a few weeks back, then you know how I feel about KSP. He's having a rookie season for the ages. He's been the true, undisputed hard carry of the Valiant week in and week out. He's had some help from the likes of Shaxx for sure, but he's literally been clicking head since day one when Shaxx was still on the bench. The impact he's had on this Valiant team is something you cannot measure, but don't just look at the results. Break down the stats. I've used these statistics before in a video, but I wanted to reiterate how ludicrous it is. If you look at his totals, he currently ranks first in damage and solo kills, he's top 2 in final blows, as well as 6th in eliminations. It's ridiculous. He's literally right up there with Carpe when it comes to stats. And I don't think I have to remind anybody how impressive that is. It's a superstar caliber season that even makes the all-time greats nod their heads in approval. Go ahead and take the averages from any hitscan character in the game. You'll find that KSP is at the top on pretty much all of them. His Widow, his Ashe, his McCree. They're things you do not want to be messing with him on. He can even play a decent Tracer if needed. I feel that KSP and Nero will complement each other very well. Like with his teammate Shaxx on the Valiant, him and Nero can split the workload evenly. They'll each have their time to shine every match, and their top-notch consistency will keep this team in the game every single time. And with both of them being pretty flexible, you won't have to worry about them getting in each other's way. Whether it's double hitscan, double sniper, dive, death ball, whatever it is, I have confidence that they will do their jobs. The DPS are the most important part of my team. The 1-2 punch of Nero and KSP will be the key to success. If they are enabled and they have the space needed, those two will compete with pretty much anybody in the league. Other than that, I think that pretty much covers my thought process behind my DPS. So on that note, that's my Western Overwatch League Dream Team using the rules I put forth with this challenge. To quickly recap, my lineup is Super, Space, Crimzo, FunnyAstro, Nero, and KSP. I mean, for the most part, it's not too bad, right? This team could definitely rank in the upper half of the league if everybody meshes together well enough. I think I did a decent job, but you might not think so tell me what you think. While you're at it, feel free to build your own dream team and join in on the fun. If you enjoyed this type of video and you'd like to see more in the future, then be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel so I know you're interested. Remember that you can also follow me on Twitter at ATPOverwatch, join my Discord server through the link in the description, and become a channel member if you wish to further support me. And as always, thanks so much for watching, I really do appreciate it, and until next time, this is ATP, signing out. Peace.